What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Poorly Edited Podcast live on WXLV, the X at Lehigh Carbon Community College. Whatever I said made Pat very happy. He was very... What, are you going to make fun of me right away?
No.
Go ahead. Do it.
No, it's a good job.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
You remembered all the words.
Yeah, I don't know if the audience remembers, but you're listening to the Poorly Edited Podcast, the show that puts a spotlight on the most creative minds we can find, the very best a couple college kids can do.
Not great.
Not great. Not very well.
We've been better.
Have we?
No.
Okay.
We've plateaued for a while.
My name is Coffee Guy.
My name is Pattrick Lilly.
Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in live. If you're tuning in live, you're my best friend. Today, we're here with a man named Luis Bardales Jr. He is the founder, I guess, of LBJ Media.
Overlord?
Whatever you want to call me.
Okay.
Overlord sounds nice. I might put that on my business card.
I do like Overlord. That has a great ring to it.
It sounds like you have power outside your business too.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the Overlord.
Like
so,
the business thing is just what you do on the side.
You have to kiss the ring before you talk to me, type thing, right?
Thank you so much for coming down.
Not a problem.
I feel like I've been hearing about you for the past 2 years of my life. Is that a weird thing? That must be a weird thing. Because I'm sure you know this, but everybody who walks into Wendy Barron's classroom gets drilled with like your origin story.
That's funny. I got to talk to Wendy about that. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. Thank you guys for inviting me out here.
Thank you so much
for coming.
I've been part of Wendy's class, and I don't know how much has she told you. So please inform me real quick.
If she told us everything, you probably wouldn't be here. I'll be honest.
That is very true.
There's plenty of stuff we don't know. But why don't before we get into it, Pattrick, Patty
Zach,
boy,
what's up?
You saw 2 movies recently that I didn't see.
Right.
Okay. You saw It Chapter 2. That was like 2 weeks ago or something, wasn't it?
That was like a month ago. Easy.
All right. Yes or no? Just one word.
Yes. Lizzy says no, though.
Okay. All right. And I don't want to get too in depth about it, so I should see it then.
I think so. Did you see it, Chapter
Lewis,
2?
Have you seen It Chapter 2?
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen the first one?
I have seen the first one. I like the first one.
Okay.
And I seen the original. So
Okay.
that I'm a big fan of the original, but the first one was good.
All right. That's how I felt too.
Yeah. Second one, it's good, but it's like it's a little weird. I don't know. I enjoyed it still because I love the universe, but like, I don't know. There's some stuff that could have been done better.
All right. And then Joker.
Definitely,
highly anticipated, at least from our circle of people. I know we were really looking forward to seeing this. Yes or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Pat's already seen it twice, actually. I don't think it's been out a week yet.
I'm going to go see it tomorrow.
Okay. I'm seeing it tomorrow as well.
Getting that Tuesday discount.
Dude, up top, dude. When are you going? What time? We're probably sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, right?
I'll be there at 7:30 or 7 or something.
Joker's bizarre because I feel like DC approved like the budget for it and they forgot about it. And then like they just ran with it. And it's like an art house movie, except in the DC universe. I don't know. There's a lot of like, I got a lot of the same vibes from like The Machinist and like Taxi Driver. There's like that kind of vein of movie. It's really weird that it's like canonic. I mean, they could make a Batman movie with that guy as the villain because that'd be interesting to watch. But I kind of don't think they could do it well a second time. I feel like since this movie made money, DC's gonna be like, oh, we can make it better and then screw it up.
Right? Yeah.
Batman's actually like a child in this one, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh.
Which I thought was weird, but apparently, according to Chandler and like Dan and stuff, apparently Joker's usually like way older than Batman, which I didn't know. I guess it's kind of hard to tell because he wears makeup all the time.
Right.
I'm not like a big Batman lore guy. I have no idea. I've only seen the Dark Knight trilogy. Although I've seen like bits and pieces of like actors who have been in the other movies that I can't remember the name of. Michael Keaton. I've seen bits of Michael Keaton. I've seen who's that really?
Adam West?
No, I haven't. Adam West is funny. I've seen like who's that really famous guy who played Joker? Really good actor,
Nicholson?
Jack Nicholson. I've seen some of that stuff, but yeah. So what? That's a yes for Joker then. Everyone go see Joker.
Everyone go see Joker.
All right, cool. I'll be there. We'll do a fan meetup tomorrow. I think I'm going to New Vision or something. I don't even know. Sam bought the ticket, so I'll be there wherever you guys want to go.
I went to see the second time yesterday. They had like signs up in the door that was like, please no makeup for watching Joker. Really bizarre.
Yeah.
I even
just
asked
go
the
in
dude,
there.
I'm like, did anyone actually do that? And he's like, no one's even remotely come in here dressed like anybody. It's also in the picture in the door, it was like, you can't dress up in makeup when seeing Joker. So what if I could show up in Joker makeup and go to a different movie? I
Or
wonder
just
if
wear
that
a
would be
clown
cool.
mask.
Yeah,
Just wear a
like,
clown mask.
and go see Ad Astra and just be the only like clown in the sci-fi audience. I don't know if that would be allowed. It was very specific wording on the poster. I was very confused.
Is that still a thing people do? Like they dress up? Because I remember people would dress up for like Star Wars movies and stuff, and they'd bring their lightsabers and things. Is that still a thing people do?
Apparently, Lizzy says yes.
Okay.
That'd be weird if you go to see the Joker movie and then it's just like a crowd full of like clown masks and Joker people. And
If I show up as like a niche villain, what if I show up as like Calendar Man? What if I'm
just
that
one-
guy in the audience? Yeah.
one Batman out of all of them.
Is Calendar Man is that a
He's
villain?
a Batman villain.
Well, okay. All right.
I have no idea what his powers are, but he's a Batman villain.
First time I heard of him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remind myself this is not the Batman podcast. So, but thanks. I appreciate your insight. I'll definitely go see Joker.
Yeah.
But Lewis, anyway, so give us like, so LBJ Media is, well, how about you just give like a 5-second description of it? Because I don't want to like paint the picture too broad or anything, or maybe not broad enough. But
Well, it's a media production and marketing company. We do commercials, music videos, promotional stuff, and corporate stuff as well. Video, photography, audio work, marketing and branding, and under the marketing and branding would go like websites and stuff that goes along with that. So basically, it's a full house agency locally to serve the local businesses around the area.
and you're still quite young, but you're doing a lot. You've picked up a lot of recognition. You're doing a very good job. Your work is very good.
Thank you.
So I imagine you've been doing this, at some level for a pretty long time. What were you, that kid who was like 3 years old running around in the backyard with a camera making like, silly films like George Lucas or whatever?
No, I was. It started more along the lines of when I was like 14. Because I used to be a gamer, like I was telling you earlier, and I would love recording the game, play footage. When I was younger though, and when I was a kid, like when I play with toys and stuff like that, it sounds stereotypical and stuff like that and cliche, but like I would make the stories in my head, and then I would love creating storylines, and then I would take that creativity further into the future to now create like my video productions and stuff like that. Because a lot of the videos that I work on, whether it's a commercial video or a music video, I try to go along with like the storyline approach to try to tell an interesting story and not just like directly sell something.
Right.
That's an interesting thing about what you do. That's like, I don't think it probably doesn't come across for a lot of people, is that there's still like, you're still telling a story. It's just like someone else's story. It might not be like, it's not like sci-fi or like fantasy. It's like a real person's story,
Right.
about stuff that actually happened. And it's like you still have to make an entertaining video that has like a beginning, middle, and end.
Right, and it's I come across challenges all the time with like different types of clients, because some clients come with like really fun projects, and then some other clients come with like projects that might not necessarily be categorized as fun, but it'd be more information based. So it's just like, how do you make something that's loaded with information very interesting to watch and not boring to the person? Because I have to, every time like I record video or I do anything along with like client projects, I think of it from the consumer perspective of who's going to be watching this and who's going to be like the main viewer, and what, if I was that person, what would I want to see from it? And then that's where I kind of take the approach from things.
It seems like I think it's kind of an underrated way to tell a story, like a form of storytelling. It's that like, it is very commercial based, but you're still telling a real person's real story. And like, you do get to meet some really cool people and tell some, because you learn about their life and like what kind of led them to the point that they are where they're doing that kind of thing. And that can be, at least in my experience, as fulfilling as maybe something a little more silly like Joker or
Right.
you do get to kind of have fun with that. And I imagine, as somebody who, had their roots in this, with video games and kind of creating video that way, that's probably something that you're glad about, that you do still kind of get to be a little creative about it.
Right, and any good gamer appreciates a nice storyline and campaign mode.
Yeah. What
That's actually depressing a little bit that people like that. There's like, if you heard the stats about like, there's like, you can check how many people complete a single player versus like the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a real shame for a lot of games where it's like people just buy for the multiplayer and like 30% start the story and like 10% finish it. And it's like
now, like a lot of the games are coming out with multiplayer only and no storyline.
I was gonna say it's like Call of Duty's fault, isn't it?
Right? Yeah.
Sure.
And so like I recently bought some of the recent games, and I'm just like, what is this? Maybe I want a storyline into it, because I find it interesting, because sometimes it's like a short film and you don't even notice that you're playing a video game.
I mean, some of the writing is just so good too.
Right.
I remember when I was like introducing Sam, my girlfriend, into some of those games that I kind of grew up playing. She was like, I didn't even know that the story in video games could be that good.
Right.
You know?
Do you have a favorite video game story? Like storyline?
I have the favorite ones that I used to play were the Call of Duty series, Halo 3 in particular.
Yeah.
So that Gears of War, a lot of like third person shooter games.
I played a lot of Gears 1, man.
Most recently, I've been on Resident Evil. I think it's 7, and
Really?
the storyline on that is crazy, because I don't think there's I don't think there's a multiplayer. It's full like story game, and it's very like good. I was very impressed with it.
What are they up to now in Resident Evil?
I think they're
like
coming up with
8 or
another
something?
one.
Jeez.
Yeah, I guess it'd be 8. I mean, I think they're remastering some of the old ones too, which is cool.
Yeah, they've been doing that.
They moved far from like the zombie thing, because like the zombie thing was like their first couple of ones.
I guess you can only do that so many times.
Right, because it was like the first times I watched a couple of zombie movies. It was like awesome, but then the story got the same. Like some crazy guy in the lab created something, and then something happened, and the lab got infected, and then the whole world went
Especially
down.
at this point where it's like it's been like 20 years of zombie movies, and it's like
You get some unique ones every once in a while. I mean,
you have to, like, really do
Zombieland
something.
2's coming out, so
I watched the trailer. I'm like, if that's all the best jokes in this movie, that's gonna be awful.
I watched the first one a long time ago. I liked it, but I was a lot younger, so I don't know.
It's tough, man. You got to think about like all the original films now that are coming out. Like they have to think that not to make like a story that's like cliche or like something that we'd already watched before. Because a lot of the times when I'm sitting in a movie theater, or sitting just watching a movie at home, I'm already guessing what's going to happen, and I'm just like,
Are you that person?
Oh, I know what. Yep, I'm like, this is going to end this way.
I'm so happy I'm not that person.
Me too.
Because I'll
honestly.
be watching something, and then afterwards we always talk about movies in a parking lot for like 3 hours.
4 or 5 hours.
The parking lot changes every time. we're still out there for some
As
reason.
does the sun.
And every time Chandler's like, "Oh, I saw that coming from the beginning." I'm like, I'm glad I didn't, because I'm like, I think I buy into movies really easily.
Yeah.
I'm just like entertained.
I
Living
could be shocked at this most simple twist. Like I could literally just be
Which
watching.
I usually walk away with less though, because Chandler's usually got more insight than I do.
Yeah.
But I think I might have enjoyed it more just because I'm like purely spectating it.
I bet that's an argument he would love to have with you.
I bet it would.
Film school for me like kind of ruined it, because I used to watch it like that, but then now I'm looking for stuff like, oh, that's a really nice shot, or like that's a continuous shot, or something like that.
Once I started following actors, even that I was like, it hurt a little bit, because then I'd walk away from the movie and be like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, what was that guy's name? I just know the actor's name. I didn't even like listen. Or the name of the character didn't even stick, just because like the actor's name filled that spot in my mind.
That's funny.
I remember when I was in high school, and I was talking to my film teacher. She was like, if you take this class, or if you end up doing that, like going to college for this, it's going to ruin seeing movies for you. But that didn't really happen to me. It just like, it either didn't have an effect, or like a counterpoint to what you said. I'll see it like a long continuous shot. I'm like, that's awesome. Like that doesn't ruin it for me at all. I just like appreciate it more.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, that was a long tangent. What were we talking about?
But before we get I'm gonna go break.
Oh, is it break time
Yeah.
already? Oh, jeez.
Before we get back on track.
All right. Please stick around, everybody.
We'll be right back. And we're back with Overlord of LBJ Media.
Grand Supreme Overlord, Luis Bardales Jr.
That's gonna stick.
I like, dude, put it on the business card. I'll buy it.
My
I'll
Facebook
buy a business card.
on my Facebook Overlord at LBJ Media.
Jeez. So you were mentioning you kind of like got started making videos like when you were younger, in your kind of teen years with video games and more lighthearted stuff. What was your journey like going from that to figuring out that that's something that you wanted to do for a living? Was that like an accidental thing that you just kind of fell into? Like, what was that process like?
No, I always had a general interest in film. My two favorite movies were Star Wars and Jurassic Park. So looking at those, something sparked inside of me that I wanted to do something similar to film. And even like you would look at my early yearbook, I would put that I would want to be a director. So that was something that was like set in my mind to do because I was very passionate about it. And it just so happened that certain things did fall like kind of accidental, like learning how to produce my own music, how to sound engineer, because it was just kind of all step by step, where I learned video editing, and then I did music production. Then I started my group in high school, my music group in high school, and then from there on starting a website and all that other stuff. So everything kind of just like meshed together, and eventually I was like, well, I know how to do all these things, I might as well get paid for it.
Right.
That's like a thing everyone who starts a business realizes. You have to wear a bunch of different hats.
Right.
But except with like video production, it's like you have to do them all at the same time.
Right.
If one of them messes up, you have to be able to diagnose it and fix it.
Yeah, and it's many times where like on projects where maybe a client wants me to do a certain thing when that comes to like sound production, and at least now I know how to do it, so I can either do it or hire someone that knows how to do it and make sure that they know they do a good job. And then also like just it makes communication a lot easier when I'm working like with a bigger crew. Because it's like when you're working for like a boss, right? You want the boss to know the job that you're doing, not have a clue, and then just like telling you to do stuff that they wouldn't do. So from that end, I kind of like understand with that point.
Yeah, it's like a crucial part of it. Like you don't want to be that guy who has no idea what you're asking.
Right, right.
So, yeah. You said a lot there. I mean, like, cause like you were getting into sound production, you started a music group in high school. Tell us a little bit about that. Was that like just for fun, or did you think maybe you would go somewhere with that? Or
well, it was just like we all had a general interest in music, and we wanted to create stuff and perform. We of course wanted it to see how far it took us, but then we all went our separate ways. Yeah. But we all learned,
you do in high school,
right? And we learned something about each other, though. So that's what I thought was important, and I learned a lot of my business skills from that. Just doing music videos, just keep on repeating the work, the website design, like I was telling you, and I gained a lot of like you could call it like street knowledge or hands-on skills by doing that. And then once I got into college, I learned a lot more of like the book study version of everything that I was doing.
And at that point, you kind of had a one-up, right? I mean, because you've been doing, at a lesser level maybe, but you've been doing that kind of on your own.
Yeah, because sometimes when I went into my film class or like my audio class, there was like kids that were just learning how to do film from scratch, which wasn't a bad thing, but I already like learned it from like 14 and I started, so I had like that advantage, and I knew I had that advantage, so it did give me a one up on things.
Yeah, and so I mean you took that passion, and here you are.
Overlord.
Right. The quickest man to ever get to Overlord that I've ever met. I mean, all the Overlords I know are like old and seasoned.
So going back a little bit to like the music thing and how that benefits, I think like there's like an aspect of the music industry that a lot of people like, they like go into music to make music, and then you find like there's like a lot of different jobs in the music industry that aren't making music, they're like facilitating it, which can be just like every person who like runs a studio that I know of is like, they used to be part of a band, or they still are, and they do it on the side, but they're just mostly producing other people's music. And it's like so following like a music career, that sounds like, I think it's less crazy than it sounds, and like should be encouraged more, I think, or at least to try it.
Yeah, it's because music is a feeling. In my opinion, a lot of the times when I was creating music, it was because it was like my escape, and I would like write like my feelings down, and that's some way I would vent out my emotions when I would write like some songs based on like my personal experience, or sometimes I would just want to write like a fun song. So I think music in general is that feeling, and why people feel so like passionate about it, especially like creatives, is like you like creating that feeling, and it gives you kind of like a space where you could express yourself and be able to relate to other people too. And that's the powerful thing about music, where like if you create a really good song, you'll be able to relate to someone or touch someone in a certain way that you would never know.
Do you think you can achieve that same thing through filmmaking? Because we've had this discussion before, and that always comes up with music and making songs or listening to songs. And, we can all agree that, you can still get to that to a certain point with films, but do you think that there is a distinction there?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is? Like, why? Because music is making you feel a certain way. I wonder, is it the lack of like a visual engagement that's just sort of makes it more on like a subconscious level or something?
Well, when it comes to film, it's kind of like bringing it all together, because film has films not only video, it's audio work, it's lighting, it's if there's some animation that goes into it, or there's some special effects that go into it, there's the makeup that goes behind it. So there's like a lot of things that people don't necessarily notice, because when you're sitting at a movie theater, when you're watching a commercial, you don't see all the behind the scenes work that's going sorry, all the behind the scenes work that makes you feel that feeling that you're feeling, whether it's to buy something or sad because you just saw a film or your favorite character die, like the Avengers. Was it Infinity War or Endgame when Tony Stark dies?
Everybody dies. Or,
yeah.
Endgame, I think Tony
guys, I
Stark
haven't seen
dies.
it yet.
Stop it. That's me. I didn't see Endgame for like a year.
At this point, that's your fault.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's probably because like with film, you're kind of steered in the direction of how you're supposed to feel. I guess that's the job, right? Where music is, that can definitely still be the case, but it's a little more open-ended, I think.
I think film does a good job at humanizing people and be able to bring reality to maybe something that's not real, or reality to something that happened in the past, whether it's based on a true story or not. So it kind of brings you to that moment. And when you're sitting there watching it, you're like kind of experiencing it like if it was firsthand. And a really good film will make you do that. It will make you feel like you're experiencing it firsthand.
That's interesting. I wonder if you could still, I wonder like how much you'd get out of a foreign film if you didn't, if no subtitles, you just watched it as is. I wonder like how much you'd get out of it.
So like here's the thing. Before I started my business, I would watch on YouTube. There was these insurance commercials, right? And now I know what you're thinking. It's like an insurance company. What's important about an insurance company? But
hey man, you gotta be covered, dude. Yeah,
but it was a Japanese insurance commercials, and they would of course be in Japanese, and then we have like the subtitles in English. But the way they did their commercials was crazy, because it would always be based on like a human experience, whether it's the loss of someone familiar or like something like that, and it would take you through this whole journey. And it's like a 3-minute commercial, and then by the end of it, you feel like you're watching a short film, and then all of a sudden it comes up like Thai life insurance, and you're just like, what just happened?
That's so sneaky, man.
It is, because it takes you through like a whole barriers of emotion, and then all of a sudden like you don't notice that you're getting sold to, and you're watching an insurance, but like
you're like crying on the phone, handing over all your money.
And then seeing that, like that's really what inspired me to do a lot of like the film work that I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that had to have helped out your whole approach to having a focus on the story.
Because a lot of the times when I notice like around the area, most of the commercials that are in the area, they don't focus on that type of work. It's more like a direct selling, saying like, hey, buy this. This is my offer.
And here's all the prices.
Come
on down, buy.
Right, and that's the majority of the commercials. And sometimes I have clients to me that come to me for those types of stories, and I have to do it, of course, because it's paid work, but it's not my favorite type of thing. My favorite type of thing is like when a client comes to me and tells me like, hey, I have this idea and I want you to create like the story for it and take like complete control of the creative aspect of it, because then I can really like create something that can impact someone versus like something that a script that's given to me.
It's like, I feel like it could, because commercial, like the intent is to sell something, but I don't. People like latch onto that way too hard, and like it should really just be entertaining. Because if I watch something entertaining at the end, I'm way more willing to buy something than if I'm just watching.
That's why people get excited over Super Bowl commercials, because those are commercials that are not you're not directly being sold to. You're not gonna go upload a Super Bowl commercial saying, "Hey, buy my product right here. You're gonna try to either do a commercial that makes you laugh or that stands out in a certain type of way. So when people finish watching the halftime or something like that, they're like, "Hey, yo, did you see that one commercial?" And then all of a sudden now that's stuck on their head, and then they're searching it up on YouTube.
Weird. That's like, is that like the Oscars of like commercials?
Yeah,
it's like
I
the
guess
Super Bowl.
so.
It's like where all like the wild ones come out.
Well, it's so weird too, because most of the companies who have the money to pay for that spot, it's like Doritos or Coke. It's like, oh, I had no idea Doritos existed. Maybe I'll buy a bag. Right? Like, it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's the whole subconscious marketing thing, which is a big, like that's a big thing, brand recognition and all that. But I don't know. It's just weird. How the whole Japanese insurance thing? That sounded like. Did you just fall down a YouTube rabbit hole or something? Like.
It kind of was similar to that. I don't remember how I came across.
Really smart on the downside,
sometimes like YouTube recommends you the most random video, whether it's like puppies playing or something like that, and you'll click on it. But yeah, this one was one of those random like occurrences where I just came across it. It was interesting. It might have even been an ad. I don't even know, but it was just like interesting that I watched the full thing, and then at the end I was like, "What?
Yo, what if it wasn't even selling insurance and it was just selling a business idea of like, if you want to be successful, focus on the story."
Yeah, right.
It worked.
Maybe it was a dream. Maybe it's not even real.
Yeah. Maybe we're not real.
Oh, now you're getting into a deeper realm.
The show isn't real. So. How are we doing on the break time there, Pattrick?
We can do it now if you want.
All right.
You brought it up, I guess.
Let's roll it out.
All right.
Let's roll it out.
We'll be
right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Relevant, a location-based mobile network personalized by your interests. Customize your news feed to consolidate all the information you care about all in one place to quickly and easily find what's relevant to you. Find out what's going on in your local area and reach your community from the palm of your hand. Relevant is available on iOS and coming soon to Android. Be the first to know with Relevant.
So, we're back. Supreme Overlord.
Luis Bardales Jr.
LBJ Media.
Real quick, Craig Friedland is blowing up the Lewis's live stream. What an absolute mad lad. Let's talk about our dearly beloved for a little bit. How did you first meet this ridiculous man? He's an absolute character.
Just how he's blowing me up right now through Facebook. No, it's we had a common people that we knew, and that eventually like some people recommended me that we should get to know each other because he's creative and I'm creative, and then when we met, we both connected really well. So he's like a good friend of mine.
I feel like Craig's just always been there. Like I feel like he's been here since like the 1920s or something in the Lehigh Valley making commercials for people
and being a menace.
Yeah, like
an absolute menace.
An absolute menace. Yeah.
I can't even remember when we first met Craig. He probably was always there.
Yeah, he probably.
Yeah.
We start looking at old pictures and Craig's just in the background.
Oh,
like, he was what?
Jeez, like old family photos, black and white and stuff.
That wouldn't amaze me.
Yeah.
His signature hat.
So you're like, I want to start doing film stuff. You made a business, and then how often did like things come up on the business end that you're like, oh, I've already kind of dealt with this just making movies before? Like, did that ever happen?
In what in particular?
Like, just like if like I don't know, like administer like I don't know, like specific, but like you just deal with a lot of stuff making movies, like logistics and like stuff you didn't even think about going in. And then that translated all to like the business side of things.
Did you do much stuff when you were younger that it wasn't maybe like focused kind of on the stuff that you were already talking about, like sort of video game stuff? Like did you make short films when you were younger at all?
Not really. I stuck more with music videos when I first started.
Which, I mean, for the record, I mean, that as far as like commercial videos go, that's probably the closest thing to a narrative film that there is. I think that was kind of something that I noticed when I started to get more into it. It was like, wow, they're actually just like really short films.
Yeah, it depends
on the way it's shot.
It depends on the type of commercial, because some people like corporate work. Some people like there's different approaches to it. Some people like to sell it directly on their commercial. There's also like training videos and all this other stuff that goes along with video work. So you're not always necessarily going like the storytelling approach, but you kind of are, and you're always trying to make it interesting to watch and not boring for the viewer.
That makes sense.
There's always, yeah, because I feel like, because commercials also have to kind of be really rewatchable. Because like nothing's more annoying than like that one commercial was like, all right, like the first 3 times, but it's going to be on YouTube for the next year. So you have to like sit through the like 30 seconds of that commercial.
And then it accidentally double plays and you're like, what is going on? I don't want to buy your Tide Pods. Man.
Yeah,
like relax.
Every YouTube commercial ever.
Yeah.
Selling you like freedom, wealth and freedom.
Do you put any thought into like that when you're making stuff? Or you're like, is that like going to the formula where like this has to be like entertaining enough and like, I don't know, like rewatchable enough? I don't know what goes into rewatchability though. Like I don't know what makes something more rewatchable.
It's not so much rewatchability, but it's what makes supposedly like what we call in marketing, it's impressions. So it's like usually like 7 impressions before someone decides to like buy a product. So it's kind of like a reminder. So the first time you watch a commercial or something like that, that's like your first experience with it. Then the second time around, it maybe like you're thinking about it like with if it's a car, you're thinking about it like, oh, that is a nice car, whatever. Third time, fourth time, fifth time, then by the 7th time, you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the website, find out some details, because I'm really interested in this car.
And then it's all over.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that. I didn't realize that was the strategy. I thought it was gonna be like you got one shot and that's it. You got to make your impression, and then they're like gonna buy it or not.
Well, yeah, there's different ways because like with commercials, it's you always have to have a way to track it. To make sure if that commercial is successful. So whether it's like sending them through your website and then like having a form and asking them like, that's why when you fill out forms for like certain businesses, they'll ask you like, how'd you hear about us? Was it through Google, a commercial or whatever? And then you'll put it down. But yeah, there's different strategies for every video, but that's usually the strategy.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, unless you had something else you wanted to say about that. So, you know, you go through school, you graduate, you decide you want to really kick this thing off. And then you start dealing with things like, you know, acquisition of gear and maybe office space, like software, hardware, stuff like that. You know, it's a lot of expenses and it's pretty overwhelming. How did you deal with that coming out of school, knowing that you wanted to take it so seriously and then put in the effort and the time to be good and spend the money? Like, was it hard without a support system if you didn't have one for that kind of stuff? Like, what helped kind of ease that transition?
So right now, since I'm still in college, I'm living with my parents. I'm planning to move out next year. So they kind of been my support system in the matter of being able to not having to pay like rent and stuff like that. But when it comes to the other expenses, like my business expenses, like I take care of that on my own. So I first had to figure out which were necessary expenses in order for my business to run. So
is that a hard line to draw sometimes?
Sometimes when you're
like, I want that fun light, man.
Right.
Know?
When you're creative, me and Craig talk about it all the time where there's like an equipment that comes out, or like whether it's a drone or a camera, a new camera, like we'll buy it and then the new version comes out and then we're like, oh, but this has this one little thing that will make my life a whole lot easier.
I remember when I bought a guitar like 5 years ago or something like that. And it was like a month later, they discontinued it and put out a fancier version. And I've been like saving up money for this. And
exactly.
I cannot believe that just happened.
When it comes to like running a business, you just got to figure out first, like, what are the necessities? What things do you need in order to run your business? And that's usually like the recurring expenses versus like the variable expenses. So once you have like the recurring monthly expenses down, you figure out what's the total amount. And then that's when you start figuring out how much you should charge per video or per photography. And going on from there, then you'll figure out how many sales you have to make. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of the process that I take when it comes to doing video. And as you guys probably know, like, lenses aren't cheap. Video cameras aren't cheap. Like a good lens
is really cheap related to video.
No.
Yeah,
really.
a good lens is like $1,000 a lens.
Yeah.
And a good camera is like $2,000, $3,000 and up. So
yeah. No, it's pricey.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's not like, I don't know, the only thing I have to buy or something.
Right.
It's a lot of money. Yeah, no, that all makes sense. Do you think that there is maybe like, I'm just trying to think of like, maybe if there's like good advice for people starting out that want to do this kind of thing, if there's like a baseline kind of like, a minimum that you kind of need to get started, or maybe just advice in general that you have for people who kind of want to branch out on their own?
So every business is different, whether it's media production. So I can't I can give you like a general advice. But for every business, like some businesses, like media production, the startup cost might be a little higher because you need an expensive camera, you need the lenses, you need the professional equipment,
You know, the film.
right? But if you want to start up like a consulting business,
Well, yeah.
something like that, it's not much startup cost. But
No, I meant mostly in media, that kind of thing.
okay, so the big thing is like, for me, it was helpful like getting a mentor, someone that was involved with media production or in marketing.
I think you had brought him up outside when we were talking.
Yeah, I actually had like multiple mentors in that I consider my friends.
Shout him out, man. Do it.
Stefan Walker, Joshua Ramirez, Jack Nine Films, the owner Kenny at Digital Feast.
Oh yeah.
So they all like were really helpful when I started my business because I would go to them, ask them questions about certain things with business and some personal stuff as well, and they would just kind of like guide me, and their experience helped me like save time because they're
you can waste so much time trying to figure out how to do things.
how to figure out to do things on your own. And like one of the people that I follow, Gary Vaynerchuk, he says that you don't need a mentor, but in his perspective, like his dad was his mentor, so he was kind of like raised with the mentor.
And he's also
already.
being everyone else's mentor. That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Right. So like, because when you're growing up with like in a family that like your father is already an entrepreneur, it's a lot easier because now you have someone to teach you the ropes of how to run a business versus trying to find someone else to teach you the ropes or like at least give you some advice.
Where do you think that, like, what if you're in a situation, like, how did you find your mentors? Like, how did that happen?
It's just about like humbling yourself and then just asking people and admitting to them that you need help and then hoping that they would say yes, but being open to the fact that they might say no, and that's totally okay because no one owes you anything.
I like that. That resonates.
Especially when you're trying to get into the same business as they are. It's
right.
Yeah.
It's like, it's honestly not like, you have to be pretty giving to be able to mentor someone to take part of the market share of your business in this area.
See, there's different types of market share in the area. So like when I sat down with these guys, I was like, look, you're better than me. You're way better than me. I'm not going to get your clients. I'm trying to get to your level. I need your help. Like, and a lot of people do resonate with that, usually because they know how the start is. So once you humble yourself and you let them know, like, I'm not trying to compete with you, I'm trying to be at your level, you're someone that I look up to, then they look at you like the young grasshopper more than a competitor.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's like, you're almost like selling yourself as someone who's not scary.
Yeah, you're selling yourself as a young grasshopper to be the overlord later.
Oh man, I'm gonna get young. Yeah, I'm gonna get young grasshopper in my business. And one day I'll be the overlord.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
How many steps do you think between those two things? Like 4 or 5? Or like...
I know. You tell us.
It takes time. Like and it's all about knowing the right questions to ask too, because sometimes like you don't know what questions to ask because you never experienced this before. Yeah. So it's just a lot of it has to do with research and then trying to figure out what questions Google can't answer for you. Because luckily we do live in an era where you can search up stuff in Google, search it up on YouTube, and you'll most likely find the answer. And then I also I have like mentors on YouTube that I would consider my mentors, but that I never met. And it's just that I followed their advice.
Yeah.
So
like who?
Like I was saying, Gary Vaynerchuk, Pattrick David. Those two were like the two that I followed a lot. And they would like recommend like good books to read, business books in general. Because before I used to hate reading books, and until I started reading business books, that's like what really sparked my interest.
I don't want to beat a dead horse too much, but how do you feel about YouTube these days?
I feel like they're trying to fix it, something that shouldn't be fixed.
Yeah.
Recently, like they're doing like the new beta thing, and I know a lot of their influencers are upset because of their monetization and how they changed like the policies and stuff like that. At this
point, I try to stay out of the loop because I don't even care anymore. It's just so out there now.
With YouTube, it's like I feel like they're at their plateau. I think they reached their peak, and if they don't fix what they're doing, then they're gonna go down, and then another platform's gonna come up. Because that's what happened with MySpace. That's what happened with every other platform that got really popular for a good amount of time, and then eventually it dies down.
It's wild how quickly that happens nowadays too. Like most of the time, like when there's like a monopoly almost on a certain field, it takes a while to break that up. But now it's like nowadays, like the website makes one bad decision and they just fall off. And
do you remember Vine?
Yeah, like
Or when everyone was doing Vine, or like back when I was in like middle school or high school, like Uvu, like people used to do
I remember
Uvu.
Uvu. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
He used that for one summer once.
yeah, right. It was like a big trend in the summer, like
Best
let's
summer of
Uvu,
my
let's
life.
Uvu, and then
Yeah. That was right when like all my friends were going to college and stuff. So we would do like 6-way Uvus, and there was like way too much bandwidth. Like it was just not
with
good
the
at all.
dial-up connection and everything.
It was just not good. Yeah. Well, I mean, YouTube had a pretty good run though for a while. You know.
It's not dead yet.
No.
rest in peace, YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's time. Like, what a crazy world that's going to be when something else takes the throne.
I feel like I think it moved from like an area where like people that creatives that just wanted to start something. It's moving from like a place where like creators used to go to create original work to now like a Netflix, because now they're starting to do more like original films, and now like you have to pay to watch certain videos, and they're trying to turn into like that streaming company.
Even on a lesser scale, I mean, I just try to find background noise so I can eat food and it's not weird and quiet. You know, like it's just like this. It's just like throwing on the TV or something at this point.
Is your girlfriend?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we get along great. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everything's fine. Really, everything. I love you, Sam. Wherever you are, if you're listening right now, everything's fine. Oh man. Anyway.
Nice save.
Yeah. How you doing, Pat? Is everything good over there?
I'm doing great.
Doing fine?
I'm doing better than YouTube.
Yeah.
Doing better than YouTube.
Yeah.
That's the new.
Doing better than YouTube.
That's the new line.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Wow. Holy cow.
We keep going on tangents.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because there's like also like Mixer, that's like a competitor for Twitch, and no one's on Mixer's side. Like,
well, then didn't Ninja jump over there for like a second?
he's still on there, but I think that it's also because Mixer's paying him a lot of money to be on there.
Sure, dude.
It's weird. You have to like, I don't know how you like orchestrate that you're like the takeover for a certain platform. I feel like it's not possible. You just have to like accidentally do it.
You pay Ninja a lot of money and hope everybody goes over. That's what you have to do, I guess.
Craig brought up AOL and Prodigy. I don't even know what Prodigy is.
That sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar,
but yeah, AOL.
Let me ask Jeeves about Prodigy.
Oh, ask Jeeves. Jeez.
That's like a really weird website.
Yeah.
It's like Google had it down, and they're like, what if it's like a butler? What if we make the search bar a character?
Then like the butler was like, I'm going on vacation. Like for a very long time and never coming back ever.
Going to the store to get cigarettes. I'll be right back. Well, it was a weird time though, and like it's not like, I don't know, search engines I think probably had a lot more. I think people thought it was like an untapped potential sort of thing.
The internet was, you think the internet's wild now, but it was way more wild before.
Yeah. Just in less spots, I guess.
Yeah. It was, you could do like whatever you wanted though back then. Like no one could regulate it because no one knew what it was.
Yeah, then governments got involved, then they started regulating.
Yeah.
Then a couple sites got really popular and then everybody was on the internet. Now you got to be careful.
You sound resentful.
I'm old. I'm like 29,000 years old.
Were you on the internet before like it blew up or something?
Not before. We're not having this conversation. There's no way I can talk about this and not sound like a prick. All right. So just take us to the break. Just go. It's fine.
We'll be right back.
We'll be resentful on the break.
And we're back. So we've been talking all podcasts about the content you've been producing, Lewis. What have you been consuming lately? Like any like TV shows you've been binging, albums you'd recommend?
TV shows. I've been binging Power. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one.
No.
Oh, what's that about? It sounds familiar.
It's basically like, all right, how can I summarize Power? So he's a club owner that's like a kingpin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he's trying to like get out of the game, but like every time he tries to get out, like something happens. And the whole time, like he's trying to become legit, like it just keeps bringing him back. And like there's a lot of like intertwined like plots in between it. And yeah, so it's produced by like 50 Cent. And yeah, he directed one of the episodes, and so like that's what I've been really binge watching.
I'm intrigued.
50 Cent directed an episode. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's actually produced like a lot of films.
Really?
And
I remember he was in
good.
he was in some Jake Gyllenhaal boxing movie, and it was really bizarre.
Well, yeah, I know the ones that he produced were like pretty good, like a couple of them, because I've been a big fan of like 50 Cent since I was like in 5th grade.
Did you guys know Harold Ramis directed a couple episodes of The Office?
Really?
I just think that's kind of weird. I just didn't
And
expect.
who was that? Zach, for anyone under the age of 20.
He was a writer, and I don't know if he also directed some of the movies that he wrote, but he wrote like Groundhog Day, and I think he probably wrote Ghostbusters and with Dan Aykroyd, and he worked on a lot of films that Bill Murray was in. I don't know why I thought that was weird. Like, he writes comedy, so why couldn't he direct The Office for a couple episodes? Whatever.
I love when you run across like a director or a producer that they do like contrasting like films where like one's like a complete love film, and then one's like a complete war film, and you're just like, wait, what? You directed both of those movies?
I was just watching The Office with Sam, and then like they were rolling the intro credits. I was like, did that just say Harold Ramis?
I think I gotta pay more attention to directors of TV shows. It's always interesting.
That's a weird thing. I feel like they don't often get like enough credit or criticism. I don't know. I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about how television is made. So maybe that's due. But like whenever there's like a big show and somebody didn't like an episode, or like, somebody's performance, you never hear like them talking trash on the director of that episode, as opposed to like if that would happen in a movie, they were like, that person did a bad job.
Right.
I think it might be because they have like, it's kind of like they like jump on the ship and they steer it for 10 minutes and then leave again. So it's not really their fault they hit the iceberg and they're already going towards it.
Wow. How do you really feel about the events of the Titanic?
That'll take me like 2 hours.
Besides the stuff that you're consuming, what do you want to start making? Are you really happy with where you're at? Are you thrilled by the stuff that you're doing? I didn't mean it like that.
That's a terrifying question.
No, I am completely depressed. I don't like anything. I don't know why I'm doing this interview.
What is the stuff that you would love to make is ultimately what I'm getting at.
I do want to get into original films.
Okay.
But what I told myself is I was going to get into the commercial market first to like get all the business connections, and then eventually use my connections to be able to fund my original projects. So like that's where I'm kind of at right now, where I kind of want to transition into creating more original work and getting more into that creative aspect, because that's the long-term goal.
That's why
do you have any idea what like the project would be, or like is it obviously you don't want to disclose it because
no, or you can and we'll make it, and then
not at the moment. I don't have like a specific project in mind. Well, I kind of do, but I don't want to disclose that.
Yeah,
one.
it's fine.
But it's just that these recent years I've made a lot of connections where I'm like, oh, okay, I can use like this person that would be very probably interested in doing a project that goes along with this. And a lot of the some of the most interesting projects that I've done like dealt with like mental health, like drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and homelessness. So a lot of those projects were very sensitive projects, but it really brought out the creative aspect and let me tell the story the way that I kind of wanted to, and show like my skill as a director and be able to touch people's emotions with my projects.
So you want to direct it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there like, do you have a favorite thing on a film set besides directing? You like a
favorite film set on the film set? That is.
Some people just love holding that boom, man.
Or Kenny, who's
I like shooting. I like setting up shots. Like there's some. Sometimes I like script writing, depending on what's the script or what I'm writing about. Because like script writing, your mind can go just like if like the creative freedom is there.
Anything's possible.
Yeah. So like a lot of the times that's what happens with like music videos. So like they'll allow me to come up with the idea. So when I'm writing the script or the treatment, my mind just goes off, and I try to do a music video that's a little bit different or with an interesting plot.
I'm sure it must be better than like, because you can be like, this is a really artistic direction I'm gonna go, but they'll understand it because they like they're artists too, as opposed to like corporate where you're like, I'm gonna go off, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
That sounds way too like abstract.
Yeah. So with some corporate stuff, they just want to get direct to the point. But so I mean, you'd be amazed. Some corporate people are open to the idea of like having some creative projects because they know that themselves wouldn't be able to produce something like that. So they might as well hire someone that specializes in doing that creative work. So it all depends on the type of people that you come across, because there's also like music artists that prefer to take only their idea and they don't want the director to give the idea. They just want to produce the idea.
Right.
It's also crazy how many different roles a director can take, because like, yeah, like if it's a passion project, you're like controlling everything, and it's like, what is my vision for this, and like, how do I make everything align with that, as opposed to this is their vision and I have to figure out how to make everything align with that. So even if it's like the
maybe
shot might be
like the split with the director on the movie TV thing is probably where that
it honestly depends on like the crew. And it depends whether if you're just like a one-man show, because if you're a one-man show, you're wearing all the hats and you're going to do everything. Right. But if you have like a bigger crew, then you'll be able to assign responsibilities, and then your job would be more like directing it, coming up with the shots, and then like just telling people like what you're expecting to come out of the film.
And then, are you ever like bottlenecked then, where you're writing something and you're on this roll of like creative, great ideas, and you're like, I can't actually do that. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a lot. The biggest challenge is budget constraints, because now with clients, sometimes a client comes with a really great idea. They want like a full Hollywood production, but they don't have the budget for it. So now you got to think of, I talk to them and then I tell them, all right, so the famous question, what's your budget? Or give me at least a range that I can work with. And then I'll be able to tell them, all right, look, we can't do this idea, but we can do this idea with that budget range. And then they'll say yes or no. They'll love it, they'll hate it, or, it's whatever that they want.
Okay. That makes sense.
We're about done, actually.
Is there anything
you'd like to shout out, Lewis?
I want to shout out you guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, dude, thanks so much for finally coming on. I should say finally. We haven't been begging you. Thanks for coming on.
Come on, you've been on my DMs.
Hey.
It does feel like it's been a while in the making for some reason.
Yeah.
He was in my DMs saying like, Overlord, please, I am a young grasshopper.
I need to talk about Harold Ramis. I just need to get off my chest, please.
Hey man, I remember when he died. I went downstairs and like, Mom, he died.
What did she say?
Oh, or something. I don't know.
Ghostbusters guy?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I had to tell her.
Yeah.
Because I was real into Ghostbusters that time. At that point, yeah.
You ran down in full like dress with like
with
the vacuum on your back. Like, Mom,
that's actually one of my favorite comedy movies. It's just so quotable.
It's great.
Do you have a favorite comedy movie, Pat? Am I running the clock? I'm sorry. No, we're good. We got a couple minutes.
What they do in the shadows is hilarious.
Is that vampire thing you always bring up?
One,
okay,
yeah.
I should probably watch that. Sam's watched that. Do you have a favorite comedy movie? I don't watch a whole lot of comedy.
Favorite comedy movie? Oh, that's a good question.
Because it's often like not great. So
I can't think of one.
I feel like the concepts for comedy movies have gotten a lot more realistic, which is weird.
In what way?
I feel like there's a lot more rom-coms than there was. Actually, maybe not.
That's been a thing for like.
I know it has, but like I don't know. That's why like recently, whenever I think of like comedy movies that come out, I'm always like,
is Groundhog Day a rom-com kind of?
Kinda. I think it like transcends rom-com though.
Yeah, I like Groundhog Day a lot though. There's a common theme here in this podcast. It's like Bill Murray and Harold Ramis. All right, it's definitely time to wrap it up.
Is there anything else you want to shout out besides us?
Yeah, like you know, like your social media or your website or anything like that.
Oh yeah, sure thing. So you can find all my work at lbjmedia.com and follow my social media at LBJ Media LLC.
All right, awesome. Pat,
anything you want to shout out, Zach?
Anything in particular? Ask Jeeves. Is still kicking.
We got to make a comeback with Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
Jeeves is really lonely. He needs something to do. He's getting old.
We'll buy the domain.
How about Tom from MySpace?
Oh, poor
you think
guy.
Tom and Jeeves hang out?
Maybe.
Probably.
With Tupac.
There we go.
in the Senior Center. You can watch all of our old previous podcasts up on YouTube. We have a lot of them.
Yeah, this is gonna be the 93rd.
Is it really?
Or something.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
okay,
it's crazy.
If you're watching on YouTube and you want to listen live, you can listen live.
Craig Freebelin wants a shout out, so shout out to him and
Shout out
EV
to
Fire.
Craig.
Yeah, shout out to Craig. If you want to be trolled so hard, you question why you got into this industry.
The number one troll on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. Craig Freebelin. We're live on WXLVDX every Monday, most Mondays actually, from 4 to 5 p.m. So if you want to listen live, you can do that. If you tweet at us while we're live, we probably won't see it, I'll be honest, but you can do it anyway. You'll get some bonus points.
Yeah.
And you can check out Lab 212 on the Poorly Edited podcast on everything.
That was
And
That's a great waveform.
that was like his version of the mic drop.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Lewis. Thanks, everybody
Yeah,
watching.
thanks so much. It's been a blast.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
I'm falling. I've been down for some time. I'm calling, but you're probably asleep. I'm laughing, but nothing is funny. I'm walking just to get the feeling. I miss the stupid things. I miss everything. I miss the stupid things. I miss everything but you.